and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we're joined by host of The Alex Marlow Show, Alex Marlow, as well as attorney and political commentator Elizabeth Barcohana. Alex and Elizabeth, thank you both so much for joining. Alex, I got to tell you, I'm excited because Law and Order is coming back to Washington, D.C. President Trump on Monday made this huge announcement. He's placing D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and he's activating the National Guard. We have seen a spike of lawlessness. We've seen a spike of like a crime wave through Washington, D.C. This is the capital of our country, and this president feels like he wants to rein things in, get things back under control. It's kind of gone too long in the wrong direction, and he wants to address the rampant crime in Washington, D.C. He says this is Liberation Day in D.C. I know he loves Liberation Day. We had one of those back in April, and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, and obviously he's going to get the federal forces involved here. So I, for one, Alex, am very happy that we have a Liberation Day coming for our nation's capital. I think it's great.
It's huge. I lived in D.C. I moved there in 2013 for my wife's medical school, and it was a vibrant city. It was the center of the world. President Obama was a terrible president, but the D.C. became the center of the world at that time. When Donald Trump came in, it got even better by a mile, and it's just a iconic place for a number of reasons. It is just a really cool place. It says the potential to be very beautiful. It's got all of our monuments there. It's got great topography. It's got incredible springs. It's got incredible falls. Our architecture there is exquisite. There's no reason this shouldn't be one of the coolest places on the planet. But by 2021, it was crime infested. All the stores were boarded up. You had to worry about getting mugged whenever you went out. There was graffiti everywhere, more homelessness. And that just changed. And Trump must have got back to D.C. and thought, what the hell happened to this place? And he said, I'm going to fix it. And he can. It's the one city on earth where no one can stop him. He can just fix it. And he's going to, and it's amazing.
You know what, Elizabeth? It's funny to me to hear the people on the left start to freak out about this and like melt down over somebody wanting to rein in the crime, homelessness, put criminals in jail. Imagine that. Imagine something crazy like making our nation's capital a safer, clean place. And they're saying, oh, wait a minute, crime has gone down. The crime you're talking about doesn't exist. Well, wait a minute. Of course, the president loves to do this. And he posted a graph. 2024 murder rate per 100,000 people, right? You have Washington, D.C. coming in ahead of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, which a lot of people know as one of the most dangerous places on earth, Islamabad, Lima, Peru, Ottawa, Paris. I mean, they're down at the bottom. Delhi, London, Madrid. Washington, D.C. tops them all. And this is the place that we call the capital of the United States of America. And the crazy part to me, too, is the carjackings have gotten so out of control. We've heard about this. But the juveniles, the kids, are making up a large swath of that, right? So you have these kids who are between the ages of like 15 and 17, some as young as 12, reports will tell you, that make up like 56% of the carjackings out there. And the reason that they're not, being dealt with is because they say, oh, well, they're juveniles. We just kind of return them back out there. So you have, I'm sure these gangs or these people in charge of all of these carjackings, you say, well, just send the kids out there. Nothing will happen to them. Donald Trump says, yes, it will. Janine Pirro, who is the U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., says, yes, it will. We got to start enforcing our laws. And they're saying, well, you know what? If the juvenile laws on the books are not sufficient enough, then we need to make them even more stringent, and we need to start enforcing things to make sure we send a loud and clear message.
Yes, we saw that in LA with our George Soros DA, George Gascon, that we voted out of office in 2024 because he wasn't prosecuting the juveniles. And so exactly what you said, the gangs would start using the kids to commit the crimes because they would, get away with it. So it's actually, even though they say their intention is to stop the the school to prison pipeline and help kids get not get stuck in the system, actually what it does, it incentivizes them to have to get into the life of crime rather than stay out of it. It does the opposite of what they say that their intentions are, which is which could go apply across the board to any type of policy that the Democrats and a liberal would champion. And this is no exception. They're literally out in the streets protesting public safety. We went from, in 2020, protesting police brutality to the defunding of the police and the demoralization of the police, the pullback of policing in minority and dangerous communities as a result of that, the proliferation of crime as a result of that. Now they're actually protesting, public safety. The trajectory of their narrative it's just insane to most normal people.
Yeah, it's shocking. Alex, I love how Donald Trump has this knack for making the Democrats look even crazier. Like, they're bad enough on their own, but if Donald Trump says he wants to do something about X issue, they got to go the other way. So, I mean, to Elizabeth's point, they're out there, saying, well, wait a minute, we don't want a safer, more beautiful Washington, D.C. What are you talking about, Donald Trump? One of my favorites, of course, all of his posts on Truth Social about all of this, I think, have been great. He said, he talks about the homeless population. He says, we're going to give you places to stay, but far from the Capitol. The criminals, you don't have to move out. We're going to put you in jail where you belong. It's all going to happen very fast, just like the border. We went from millions pouring in to zero in the last few months. This will be easier. Be prepared. There will be no more Mr. Nice Guy. We want our Capitol back. And of course, he finishes it, Alex, by saying famously, thank you for your attention to this matter. That's his new way to end things. And he coupled this post with these photos that it looks like he took out of the back of the presidential limo, the Beast, on his way into Washington, D.C. So you can see the president is seeing this stuff with his own eyes as he's traveling home, whether from some big visit across the world or, a weekend away at Bedminster. He's posting pictures that he's seeing as president. I just think it's amazing that the Democrats are now finding themselves fighting again on the wrong side of another issue. I think it's great.
It is unbelievable how he picks these 97-3 issues or at least 80-20 issues, and the Democrats just think just because Trump is for it, we must be against it. I mean, what's the list? Open borders, bringing American manufacturing back, hating Hamas, disliking China. You might recall, this feels like a few news cycles ago, but the left came out against hot blondes with nice breasts. Like, they're against that now. Like, that's all of a sudden, it's like, nope, no, we don't want that. That's you Republicans can take that.
Yeah.
We'll go, okay, fine, accepted. We can deal with that. That's something we can recover from. But one other thing about your crime stats, Lara, which is those stats are even lower than, we might have more murder than all those places. We're not even getting the full picture of it because they're not reporting all the crime, because to report it would mean a momentary statistical uptick in crime, which the establishments of these cities, all Democrats, they don't want that to happen. So they just try to report as little as possible.
I think there was a police chief or something who was suspended based on the fact that there was some nefarious activity in the reporting. And we know how they report this stuff. They were doing it throughout Joe Biden's term in office, where you would just have them somehow leave certain indicators out that would show how bad crime across the country had gotten. Or they'd say, oh, well, this doesn't apply, so we're going to leave this out of the metrics here. But all you have to do is go walk down the streets of these major American cities, Elizabeth, to get the vibe and to know. I mean, you live in LA, right? You and Alex are both out there in California. God bless you both. We're hoping for the best for you guys.
Hey, Trump's coming here next. He's doing it. We got to figure out a way.
So this is my question. I'm wondering, look, if we see success here in Washington, D.C. with President Trump, and he says it's going to be much easier than the border. We saw how quickly that was fixed. I'm wondering if you guys feel like there will be other cities, other major American cities that say, maybe we should see this happen here. I, for one, kind of think that in the midst of this mayoral race going on in New York City, we may see Eric Adams say, you know what, we want to have that happen here. Maybe they get some crime under control in New York City. I don't know, Elizabeth, what do you think of that? Do you feel like we could see this branch out past D.C.?
Well, I would say that actually the model was LA for what he's doing in DC when we had the riots against the ICE raids, and he brought in federal agents to help, get the city under control, and it did work. And so, he took that model and is now applying it in DC, where his, legal authority to do that is even much more clear. It was clear to do it in LA too, but it's even much more clear there. But also in his press conference, he said two things that really lit me up, like with excitement, because if he can accomplish ending no cash bail and ending sanctuary cities with federal legislation, that will have an unbelievable impact in blue places like LA, Chicago, New York. It will have a huge impact, because what's going on right now is that even if arrests are made, they can't hold them in jail. Either because our jails are overcrowded, or because of various propositions that if you're arrested for a certain type of crime, they let you out, or the juvenile thing that we were talking about before, they can't hold them in jail. And so what happens is they go out, and while they're waiting to be arraigned on one crime, they go commit another crime. And it's like a revolving door. And not only that, but the sanctuary city policies are protecting the illegal immigrants who also then go on to commit other crimes. And so they can't then get deported. And you see news story after news story almost every single day of an illegal immigrant who has committed multiple violent crimes, has a long rap sheet, and they're still here when they never should have even been here in the first place to commit the first crime, let alone all the next ones.
Yeah. We gotta take it back. We gotta get it under control. And you're right. This is probably President Trump saw how you could actually get control of things if you bring in the federal, police force, essentially federalize things. And as much as we don't want to do that, when you have elected officials who are negligent in their duties, who are not protecting their citizens, who are letting rampant crime just occur in their cities. They're not doing anything about it. I mean, my God, I've been in New York for the past 3 months. I had to go to I needed to buy deodorant at a CVS in New York City one day. Do you know how long it took me to get that deodorant? Because I had to get somebody, to push a button. Yeah. Then some person has to come, open up with a key, the little plastic thing, so that you can reach in and get a deodorant. It's deodorant. What is it, $6 or something? This is how this has gone in all major American cities. People don't want to live like this anymore, Alex.
Okay, so the question is why? Why is it like this? It's like this because the laws are such that that they're not going to prosecute any crime that's a misdemeanor. So that means petty theft is going to run wild because they don't have time, nor do they have the interest, because they don't want people behind bars. They don't want the citizenry safe. They want people back on the street. So thus, the only way to stop people from looting, because culturally we're becoming more godless, we're becoming losing our mooring when it comes to right and wrong. So you've got all these people, particularly younger people, walking around, they're stealing stuff. So you got to lock it away or they're just going to take it. I've witnessed this in LA where we have the same laws, at least until recently. They're starting to change them thanks to the voters, where basically no theft under $950 or something was ever prosecuted because there was all misdemeanors. So what would happen is you would see people loot and then the store clerks would do nothing, or maybe they would plead with the criminals, like, please stop. I saw that a couple of times out here in LA because they know they're not going to bother calling law enforcement because law enforcement will probably do nothing. And then if they do something, they know the criminal is going to get back on the street the next day. I write about this in my new book, Breaking the Law. There's something called the Gascon Special, where they know that if you steal something and is not that expensive, even if you get caught, you'll be out on the street the next day at worst, and you'll be back to your life. They have that in these cities. Trump is the only one who seems to care.
Yeah. I want to talk about your new book, and it kind of brings me to our next topic, Elizabeth, which, you know, the whole Russiagate scandal. Obviously, we've over the past couple of weeks since Tulsi Gabbard declassified a lot and brought to light a lot of what we all kind of assumed had happened in 2016, 2017 era after Donald Trump was elected for his first term. You had J.D. Vance doing an interview over the weekend, and he says he thinks a lot of people could be indicted over this Russiagate scandal. You even have Washington Post columnists admitting that the mainstream media never found the Russiagate, quote unquote, smoking gun that we were promised. My God, we were promised it. If he promised it one time, he promised it 10 million times by Adam Schiff. He had it. He never showed it to anyone. They never found it. These geniuses within the mainstream media never found it. That's one that I know you have a statute of limitations issue for some of it, Elizabeth, but if we're talking about holding people accountable, if we're talking about ensuring that the right thing happens and that, people who have bad intentions think twice before doing things, this is one for me where I sure would like to see some indictments over all of that.
I think all of the American people who recognize that something happened, that the American people were deceived during that time, during that leading up to the 2016 election and afterward. Everybody wants to see those involved held accountable for trying to rig an election. And they failed to rig the 2016 election, which I think was the original intention.
Yep.
But they succeeded in 2018 in the midterms, and then again in 2020, where we have these election results that seemed off. It didn't seem reflective of what the true will of the American people was, and to a large extent, that is because the administration involved and the deep state that remained under the Trump administration, the first administration, and the media were all working together to deceive the American people. You saw that with the Hunter laptops, the Hunter Biden laptop story. You see it now with this whistleblower coming forward with the Adam Schiff information, who had already come forward in 2017, but the FBI didn't properly investigate it. And so, all this information is thankfully coming out early in President Trump's second term so that we can get to the bottom of it, hold the people accountable for it so that it doesn't happen again, and then move forward with a clean blank slate. Let the American people decide for themselves based on true information, based on what they can observe and see with their own eyes, and let them, vote and come to their conclusions.
I'm excited to share something that's especially close to my heart. The Bible teaches us that in a world full of broken promises, one covenant remains unshakable: God's eternal promise, his unwavering commitment to Israel. Now more than ever, God is calling Christians everywhere to be a living testimony that his promises endure forever. I've chosen to partner with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews as one way to align myself with God's eternal plan. For over 40 years, this wonderful ministry has faithfully provided nutritious food, care, and life-saving aid to Israel's most vulnerable, the poor and the elderly, many of whom are Holocaust survivors. And when crises strike, like rocket attacks or urgent humanitarian needs, IFCJ is already on the ground responding with compassion and support. Join me in standing for Israel and declaring God's faithfulness to all generations. To learn more and find out how you can help, visit ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. And now it's your gain. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. Get a standard MyPillow for just $17.98. Want more? Upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. Visit mypillow.com and use promo code TRUMP or call 800-624-3945 to score these amazing deals. Plus, when your order totals $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right, premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com or call 800-624-3945 now. And don't forget to use promo code TRUMP to grab your standard MyPillow for only $17.98 while supplies last. Imagine that. Imagine a world where that happened, Alex. It's kind of wild. So you mentioned your new book. I think it was just last week it was released, Breaking the Law, Exposing the Weaponization of America's Legal System Against Donald Trump. I'm interested in this one, Alex. I got to tell you, I want to hear about the book, but you also, I saw that Breitbart published an article where you talk about, obviously you have the weaponization of the legal system here, but you also talk about these billionaire leftists who are behind all the lawfare. And I think that's a very important component to all of this. You go through one by one and kind of name them all. This stuff doesn't happen without someone supporting it, you know, to the tune of millions, if not billions of dollars, right? So tell us about the book. Tell us about what you learned and about all these people who have been supporting what is incredibly destructive to our country.
Yeah, thank you. And the book is really designed to be a couple of things. Well, I'll give you a positive one and I'll give you a negative one. The positive one is it's a primer for what I think is going to be a season of investigations. That's what I've dubbed it, and I think that's what's going to happen. We're already seeing them. Jack Smith under investigation, Letitia James under investigation. Those investigations are going to continue, and they're going to yield fruit for years to come. And there's at least a dozen other names who need to get thrown in there, from Juan Merchan. I have a big piece today out on Louis A. Kaplan, the judge in the E. Jean Carroll case. All these people should be investigated for different reasons, and I break that all down. And so that should be very exciting for people, because I'll tell you, Lara, you might have kept it straight, but the vast majority of people who are even dedicated Breitbart readers, I don't think are going to have all the 6 major cases against President Trump that were trying to take down his ability to run for president and be president again, instead put him in jail. I don't think people have those straight. Trump had to keep him straight at the same time, either winning them or at least saving face so he could run for president from a courthouse. This was such a miscarriage of justice. It was so egregious. It was such a subversion of our democracy. And no one's been held accountable as of yet. We will hold them accountable. We need to. So that's really important, that primer. But it's also a warning for people to get involved and to understand that the lawfare apparatus is so well funded. It's so vast. It's in so many parts of our economy and in our legal system. And I go through some of the names of the people who are funding it. George Soros' name is always talked about on the right. He is one man who's single-handedly sowed destruction in our streets, sowed chaos, allowed for violent criminals to thrive more than any other human being on planet Earth. We actually don't talk about him enough. If not for him, we would not have all these Soros-funded DAs that are ruining all of our cities. I talk about Reid Hoffman, who's the LinkedIn founder, who's a billionaire, whose money funded the E. Jean Carroll suit, which was a completely farcical suit. She's a columnist. She couldn't afford to have the best Me Too lawyers, yet she got them. She got them from Reid Hoffman, who is a Joe Biden, not just donor, but a guy who's a frequent visitor to the Biden White House. I go into David Brock, who founded Media Matters. He's got an organization called Project 65. What he's trying to do is try to get lawyers like Elizabeth, by the way, debarred. That's what he does. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get you guys kicked off the bar so you can't help and work on conservative causes unless you want to fear for your livelihood and for your job. That's what these guys are up to now. It's cancel culture on steroids, and they will not stop. They will not sleep, and we have to beat them.
Alex, thank you for writing this book. Thank you for putting this out there. I think you're right when you say it's hard for people, even the Breitbart readers who I know are, voracious appetites for, the truth and what's going on out there. Most people could not keep straight all of these different cases and where they were coming from and how they started. And I mean, our family went through each and every one of those simultaneously, by the way. These were all happening at the same time. It's honestly, when I look back on that time in our lives, it's sort of amazing that any of us kept going, not the least of which is President Donald Trump. I look at my father-in-law, I don't know any person that could have survived one of those things.
Yes.
And what's crazy to me is I think back to that time and talking to him and looking at Letitia James, who ran on a campaign to get Donald Trump, ran on a campaign to take him down. She didn't care about taking care of the citizens of the state of New York. That wasn't her concern. Her concern was, she said, I will go into the office every single day, sue Trump, and then go home. That's what she cared about. So she was going to find anything she could on this guy, and they poured through millions of documents from the Trump organization to try to say that he had valued Mar-a-Lago improperly. And then what was it? $500 million. Are you kidding me? The whole thing is nuts. All of this, DA Alvin Bragg, all of them, They all deserve to be exposed and the people behind them. So, Alex, thank you.
You're welcome. And I really felt for your family going through this. It was so much worse than anyone thought. And some of
Yes.
your names were caught up in it. The children's names were caught up in some of the cases. It was such a clear and open political persecution in some of the other cases. And some of these penalties, like the $500 million fine from Tish James, this is cruel and unusual. Literally no one else in the history of the presidency could have survived this. It is the definition of a cruel and unusual punishment. There were no victims in that trial. They treated Trump like a criminal. She was supposed to be representing the citizens of New York, none of which had a grievance with Trump with the way he handled those things. The Mar-a-Lago valuation, they thought Mar-a-Lago was worth $20 million. Mar-a-Lago is probably worth $2 billion.
Yeah,
and they were using that to try to bust Trump. The story of that is just beyond belief, but I'll save some of those details for readers because I don't want to monopolize conversation too much. But
it's so crazy. And by the way,
crazy.
Elizabeth, I want to bring you into this too. Something that people are just also now finding out, in addition to the lawfare, which we all saw happening, right? And it backfired so brilliantly. The Democrats thought, you know what, we throw all these cases at Donald Trump, we throw them all at once, we completely try to destroy his character. We've got the Boxes case, you've got Fannie Willis, you've got, the whole thing, all of them together. There's no way this guy could possibly become president again. But in the background, guess what else they were doing? They were debanking him. Mm-hmm. People are just learning about this now, Elizabeth. So, again, something our family dealt with, something we didn't talk about at the time, because quite frankly, it's rather embarrassing whenever these things happen. You're like, wait a minute, we've had money in this bank for how long? Donald Trump has had money in these banks for 40 years, billions of dollars in some cases. And you had Capital One, who overnight just completely got rid of 300 accounts. You had Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, all of these, banks that basically said, well, you know what? You're not president anymore. We're getting a lot of pressure from people within the Biden administration to say that you're a reputational risk. That's the terminology, Elizabeth, that they used to debank a former president, to debank a former first lady, to debank his children, his company. Tell me how, if you have to pay for taxes, if you have to pay every 2 weeks payroll, and you have these automatic deductions that come out of a bank account, do you expect a company like the Trump Organization to just overnight be able to switch over all of that money to a bank where you just leave them high and dry? This stuff is finally coming out, Elizabeth, and I hope people seriously look at this. The whole crux of it, though, is it wasn't just our family. It wasn't just Donald Trump. This sort of thing was happening to a lot of conservatives out there, and a lot of people didn't know it was going on.
Right. So all conservatives for the past 10 years are very aware and, we all have experienced being discriminated against in various different ways because of our conservative beliefs. And President Trump always says, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. And this is another example of that. All the things that are coming out about what they've done to him in so many different, across the spectrum. The fact that he kept going, and the fact that your family, most men in public office would eventually give up because they don't want to put their family through, that. But you guys not only, stood behind him and you guys all took it, but so did he. And the American people, especially conservatives who have felt that in our own personal lives, in our own small ways, we identified so much with that, and we were so inspired by his fight that he has, that fire in the belly that he has. And all of this is such small potatoes. It's a big deal, but it's also small potatoes compared to the day in Butler where he was shot at in the face and stood up with his hands up and said, "Fight, fight, fight." Like that's just who he is, and that is inspiring to the American people, not just to conservatives, but to Americans, because that is who we are. We keep fighting through these injustices until we do get justice.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, he was never going to stop fighting, that's for sure. And I have to just give a shout out to my husband, Eric Trump, because he has run the Trump Organization since his dad ran for president in 2015, really. He started kind of taking things over. He had to work really hard to make sure that he kept people with jobs, kept people's paychecks coming in, kept the lights on at all these buildings whenever they just pulled the rug out from under us without any sort of warning, solely based on politics. So my husband worked really hard. He's one day you'll hear his story, I'm sure, but it's sort of a miracle that all of it kind of panned out the way it did. I really want to get to this, Alex, because President Trump, I think, doesn't get enough credit for being the president of peace. You've heard him kind of say this, I want to be the president of peace. Let me just read for the audience what has happened in 2025 since Donald Trump was inaugurated for a second term in the White House. Here are all the peace deals that he struck, right? You don't even hear about these, Alex. You saw last week at the White House, you had Azerbaijan and Armenia. He settled that dispute. We, of course, had the Israel-Iran dispute settled thanks to President Trump, a ceasefire there. Everything's all set. Cambodia and Thailand, they had a 5-day war. When we were over in Scotland, he was literally doing calls with both of the leaders of those countries saying, like, I think you guys are doing the right thing. Let's settle this. Let's get a peace agreement. Boom, that's in place. India and Pakistan, remember, it was heating up there for a while. People were getting a little worked up. Donald Trump settled it down. It's done. Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, done, settled. It's off. It's no problems there. And then Egypt and Ethiopia also. These are 6, agreements, peace agreements with 12 different countries that Donald Trump has single-handedly made sure war has not ensued in all of these countries. He gets zero credit for this. And then, of course, you go back to 2020. He had Kosovo and Serbia. And then we can't forget, of course, the Abraham Accords, what I think he probably should have won the Nobel Peace Prize for during his first term in office. But, of course, his name was Donald Trump, so he didn't get that. Alex, it's amazing that he has been able to orchestrate all of this peace across the world. Of course, no one talks about it. No one gives him credit for it. But I was glad that he had the Armenia-Azerbaijan deal there at the White House last week. So at least people were aware that that was happening.
Yeah, he deserves so many Nobel Peace Prizes. I mean, he's not going to get one because it's a deeply corrupt organization. Remember, they'll give it to terrorist sympathizers if they feel like it. They gave one a few years ago to these people who got all these countries who are never going to ever get a nuclear weapon, like to sign a commitment to not get a nuclear weapon, and they just they were going to get one anyway. It's like, okay, great guys.
Like my child's not going to get a nuclear weapon. Great, yeah. Luke Trump's not going to get one. Cool.
Exactly. It's like having my 1-year-old sign that she's not going to get a gun. I'm like, okay, congrats. Yeah, you're definitely not. That's true. But it's and to think he's probably disappointed because I think he'd like to forge that Russia-Ukraine peace. That war was Joe Biden's fault. I wrote about this in my previous book, Breaking Biden, which thank God the Trump campaign mainstreamed that talking point during the election. I think it was a really powerful one. And he'd love to broker the Gaza peace that I think is inevitable. It's just taken way too much time. And he's had all these successes one after the next. I just love it. He is a peaceful man at heart. I think he wants people to be able to thrive. And you can't thrive in a chaotic, warlike environment. And I think that he likes that. People act like he's a chaos agent. It's the opposite. He's a peace agent.
Yeah, remember, Elizabeth, during the first term, the whole first term in office, when people were like, Donald Trump has the nuclear codes. He's going to start World War III. That was the whole talking point that the Clinton campaign came up with, of course, before they tried to subvert the will of the voters by, Steele dossier, et cetera, the Russia collusion nonsense. But remember that? Remember they were like, we can't give this guy the nuclear codes. Donald Trump is arguably really the most peaceful president of my lifetime. I mean, that's for sure. He is the only president not to have a new war start under his leadership. You remember that during the first term. Every other president has, had some issue and some skirmish that we've involved ourselves with. Donald Trump is getting rid of war. He's bringing in peace. And, you look at this Armenia-Azerbaijan deal, it gives us a little leverage over Russia in what will be potentially, hopefully, a peace talk that he's going to go have with Vladimir Putin this Friday. He's going to go to Russia. He's going to meet with Putin. These are all such great things. Do you expect, Elizabeth, though, that Donald Trump will ever end up with a Nobel Peace Prize?
In my heart, he will. He already has it. No, as Alex said, the Nobel Prize organization is massively corrupt. You know, they're never going to award it to him, but that's okay. His record of negotiating as many peace deals as months he's been in office, and some of them when the conflict has only been a matter of days. Some of them, like the Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, has been going on for 4 decades.
Yeah.
You know, since the fall of the Soviet Union, they were former Soviet countries. And so this was like in Russia's backyard, their sphere of influence. Armenia had been aligned toward Iran and Russia. And the fact that, you know, that now Trump has inserted America into this region and our dominance there is definitely going to have, you know, a domino effect on other, you know, actors in the region. But I think that this is just a testament to the age-old political adage that peace through strength is the only way, that appeasement and weakness invites aggression by your adversaries, that isolationism creates a vacuum. When a superpower pulls back from the world stage, it creates a vacuum, and into that vacuum will come other actors. And nobody is as capable as the United States, and no president has been as capable as President Trump of acting in a way that brings order and restores peace to these long-standing conflicts.
Yeah,
it's incredible to watch.
It's great stuff. More to come, I'm sure, by the way. So we'll be paying attention Friday, obviously, to what goes down in Russia. Before we go, I really wanted to get this in, Alex. You know, I saw one of my friends on Instagram post something last week, and it was something like, do you ever wonder who would vote for Zohran Mamdani as mayor of New York City? Here's your answer. And it was a video the New York Post put out of Brooklynites literally waiting in a line, Alex, to get ice cream that is made out of breast milk. And I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. People, first of all, just having it is enough. Like, I don't know what's going on there. They waited in a line, and here it is. It says, this summer's trendiest treat comes in a flavor you haven't had since you were a newborn. Curiosity was the main motivation for crowds flocking to Brooklyn's Oddfellows as workers slung breast milk ice cream scoops for free as part of a limited collaboration. All right. It's a no for me, Alex. What do you think?
Well, how does it taste? I mean, maybe it's really good. I don't know. The other thing is that for me, I like to get the double scoop. I like to get the swirl. I like the swirl with the breast milk and the placenta flavor. Those are the two that I like to go for. But you know, this is all a Chappelle Show joke. Chappelle had a thing with Puff Daddy. He was doing like a Making the Band type deal. I forget what that show was called. And one of the tasks they had is the band had to go down to Queens and get some breast milk from a Cambodian immigrant, and that was the task, not making music. And it was like a Chappelle Show joke from like 30 years ago, and then here we are. So it was I don't know. I would absolutely try by.
Oh my God, Elizabeth, I got to tell you, again, it's a no for me. I don't know why one would want to do something like this, but again, these probably are the people who are voting Mamdani. Likely, sadly, as the next mayor of New York City. You know how we know? Because the ice cream was free. And that's why they were lined up to get it. Because they are socialists. And if you offer something to them for free, they're going to line up for it no matter what it is. You know, I nursed 4 kids. Like, that's a total of almost 4 years of my life. And I never tasted my breast milk, nor did I have any interest in trying it.
So you have no idea what you're missing. So Elizabeth has no authority here whatsoever.
I thought this too. So I nursed 2 kids. Never one time. Somebody asked me that. They were like, "Have you ever tasted it?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. No, that's horrifying." Alex,
we were a formula family, so I've had neither. So it's so none of us
you
really
better
can speak. Could be
you better
fantastic.
get to Brooklyn and get you some ice
here's
cream.
my serious answer. I'm giving my joke answer. My serious answer is we're in this age now where it's all hyper marketing. It's all about viral brand activations. It's all about buying clout online with social media. And this is not going to end well. We're in it now. We're in the thick of it. Maybe it's better than stupid commercials ruining my golf broadcast on Sundays. But this is how people are getting the word out with their brands. And it's just going to be heightening. It's sort of going to be like the Las Vegas Strip, where you've got a hotel that looks like the pyramids. I can do one better. I'm going to do a hotel that looks like the New York skyline. This is the point that Larry Solov, our CEO at Breitbart, makes all the time. We're going to put all the Venice canals inside a hotel, and you just keep one-upping each other.
Yep.
That's what's happening on social media right now, and it's going to have to stop eventually. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, what a good analogy. It's so true. You go to Vegas, it's like, oh, but look over here, but we can do this better. That's so funny. Well, Alex and Elizabeth, thank you guys so much for both joining us for The Right View today. Appreciate you both. And to everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Alex, you're so funny.
I try my best.
Love it.
Trying my best.
Oh, my God.
I'm getting a lot of experience. Laura, this is my 6th.
And I won't back down.